last 3 seasons, Cincinnati has done an impressive job of defending its home turf. The Bearcats have won their last 20 games at Nippert Stadium, including the 2020 AAC Championship. Only 3 other teams in the nation, Clemson, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, have longer active streaks.
Welcome back as we are about to welcome in the Cincinnati Bearcats, returning after the loss in the Peach Bowl to Georgia. Before we get to Coach Fickell, he had a quote this season that I thought was interesting over the offseason. He said, "It's a heck of a lot easier when people are dodging you. You don't have to go searching for motivation." I'm curious, and we'll ask him this, just how the mentality changes around the program now that they sit at the top and you don't have that kind of the same kind of motivation that they've had before.
Yeah, I mean, the bullseye's on them. That's for sure. Exceptional season last year. Again, a big issue, and we just talked about, I don't know if it's an issue, their defensive coordinator, Marcus Freeman, moves on to Notre Dame. They had one of the most dominant defenses in the nation last year. Mike Tressel steps in at that position. So I think Coach Fickell is going to get a few questions about that. But again, I think they move in there, 14 returning starters, a lot coming back, an experienced group. So, I think they're going to be in a good position. But again, the bullseye's on them. Everyone is coming for them this year. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond.
Yeah, even when you look at wide receivers that Desmond Ridder will have, Alex Pierce is a full go after missing 6 games with a shoulder injury last year. Michael Young Jr. returns. The depth defensively, I mean, last year, all the praise went to the secondary, but their defensive line this year as well deserves all the praise.
Yeah, and we talked about some of those guys yesterday. And then Jerome Ford, right, the running back, he's my breakout star this year. I think he's going to have a boatload of carry. So, yeah, they got a lot coming back. So, really looking forward to seeing this Bearcats team this year. And, of course, we talked about their schedule, the big 2 non-conference games at Indiana, at Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at the schedule. You wonder, what do you need to do to get into the playoffs? Would you have to run the table? And that makes it interesting for that game on October 2nd when they have to travel to Notre Dame. I was asked this morning, what do these coaches tell their teams if you want to get into the playoffs? Well, you can only really handle your own business. You go undefeated in that schedule, you have the resume, in my opinion, to get in.
Yeah, if they go undefeated, they need to be in. And then there shouldn't even be a question about it, right? But with the 14 playoff, unfortunately there is. And that's why, obviously, we're trending toward the 12-team playoff. But that's a brutal schedule. I mean, even their in-conference that they're going to have as well. So, if they go run the table with that schedule right there, they need to be in the playoff.
For Desmond Ridder to come back for another season, I mean, he wanted to come back because he wanted to win for this team. I had a baby girl over the offseason. I thought last year was interesting because he took some hiccups at the beginning of the year, and there were questions of should they open up a quarterback competition, and he just got better and better. What did you see from him towards the end of the year that made him just keep progressing?
Well, that was his experience, right? And you're gonna have bumps along the road, especially even as a good player. And so, but you just got to get out there and you got to keep leading your offense. You got to keep slinging the ball around. And that's what he did. He just kept moving forward. And at the end of the day, they win the conference championship. They get the New Year's Six bowl bid. They almost knock off Georgia. And that's the veteran, right? That's the experience in him. And so for him to come back again, Luke Fickell has got to be thrilled.
They're almost a unanimous selection to win the conference in the preseason poll released this morning. If there's one team you think who has the biggest chance to knock them off, who would it be?
It's UCF. And I think, but we'll see, because, Gus Malzahn, a new coach, will be debuting against Boise State. But I just think they have the personnel, and they picked up some pieces in the transfer portal, some wide receivers, and I think that defense is going to shore up. They picked up a couple, an opt-out that's coming back at defensive line. So if UCF can shore up their defense, I think they're the biggest threat to knock off Cincinnati.
So this is the preseason poll that was just released this morning. Cincinnati, 262 votes. There you see SMU at 3, Houston at 4, which will be interesting what Dana Holgorsen is able to do with his season. Let's now get to the Cincinnati portion. Luke Fickell joining us now. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach. So much has been made this offseason about the guys returning and Desmond Ridder wanting to win for this team. What is it like now to try and coach a team that has all the attention and the focus on your guys?
I can't say it's been a lot different. The good fortunes I think we've got is these guys have been through a lot. And I mean that when Desmond Ridder and the Majay Sanders of the world, a lot of these guys that were here in year one that barely won 4 games, probably should have won 1 game. So they've been through those really tough times. So I think they've so far through the offseason have handled it really well with just expectations and a lot of the talk. But I know they're really kind of hungry to kind of get this thing rolling and quit being about all the other talk and let's be about the new year.
Okay, we'll go now to questions for Coach Fickell, please. We'll start with Dan Tortora from Wake Up Call DT, please. Dan, you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yep. Coach, looking at the 12-team playoff, obviously last year made a case to be in the college football playoff, your team did. Just what you could say about the expansion and what that means for the American and for Cincinnati.
Well, it's really, as a coach, I don't think I'm looking 3 years ahead. So I haven't spent a whole lot of time other than in recruiting. It's something we've definitely talked about because, recruiting wise, that's the thing that you're kind of looking at 2 and 3 years ahead. So for us immediately, it's really hard to, for the Desmond Ridders and the Majay Sanders and all these guys to talk about the expansion of the playoffs, it doesn't do a whole lot for us right now. So we try to, with all the things that are going on, we're trying to stay real focused on, hey, what's the now? What's the immediacy? Let's handle all these other things that people are talking about and make sure we're focusing on what we need to do for 2021.
And in the now, you obviously have made the decision to stay with Cincinnati and grow this brand and grow this program. Why continue to stay in Cincinnati when you come up in conversations year to year as far as potential jobs?
I think for me, the thing that's important to me is the family. I mean, this is a great place. And I don't just mean that as university. I mean the community, the city. There's a lot of amazing things that fit really well for us, for me, the family, and things like that. And then you look at the program-wise. To me, we're just scratching the surface of where we can go. And I'm a guy that, again, wants to stay motivated, and there's all different kinds of motivations. But for me, when I feel like you can continue to grow, there's so many other areas and places and things that we can do. It keeps me really motivated. So for me, heck, we're only scratching the surface, and 3, 4, 5 more years. I really believe we can take this thing from a really, really good football team having a chance to be in the top 10 like we were last year to truly a top 10 program that can do it year in, year out.
Thank you, Coach.
Sure.
We'll go next to Chris Vanini from The Athletic, please.
Yeah, Luke, obviously there's a lot of talk about conference realignment in Cincinnati and where the Bearcats could be. Just kind of what do you make of that?
You know what? I think from the time I came here, when I first came here, I think they had just gotten off some of that realignment talk, and I know it was a lot of things. The AD and the university as I was starting, and the big deal for me was, hey, we are where we are right now. No matter what, if this thing is ever going to change or things are going to start to realign, no matter what, we got to be in a good place. So I never really worried about it. I never really talked about it. I know those things would come up in passing, and people would ask you questions, and my answer hasn't changed. Hey, if this happens, whether it's a great thing for our league, meaning our league can expand, or there's other things that happen, no matter what, we got to be in a good place. And I mean that as a football program. I mean that as an athletic department. I mean that as a university. And the only way you can do that is by continuing to grow. So all those things, even like the question before, that kind of come into the mix of, hey, why do you love where you are? Why do you choose to keep staying? Because I see that there's an amazing opportunity to continue to grow what it is that we do here, and something new is not what's best.
And I mean, do you feel you guys are in a strong position, as strong as you can be, considering your success on the field and the investment that's been made in athletics?
Yeah, but I mean, I hope and believe that our league, every bit as much as us, I mean, you don't want to be an individual. I know that, there's a lot of things that are outside your control, and there's a lot of other people that, are doing a lot of other things out there, and they got to do what they got to do. But I think for me, in a lot of ways, is, hey, this league and what we've done and what, us in particular, the entire league has done in the last few years, has put themselves in a position that with realignment, there could be some other things happen for all of us, meaning that we bring people in, all of a sudden we become, whatever the next conference and the 5th conference or the whatever, because I think the entirety of what we do has really grown. And so to just signal us out to say, hey, we're going to do something on our own, I think the idea is, hey, man, there's a lot of really good programs in this in this league. There's a lot of people really growing, and hey, if you're not growing, then you might not be a part of this league because there's a lot of other opportunities for people to come into it too.
We'll go next to Justin Williams from The Athletic, please.
Hey, Coach. You have a pretty veteran team going into year 5. You've also been able to recruit a higher caliber player. How do you keep those young guys invested, knowing that there's maybe a little bit tougher path to quicker playing time?
Oh, it's definitely something that we are addressing. I think the landscape of what it is that we're doing as football coaches and in programs today is always changing. But this whole idea of a portal and easier opportunities for other guys is a really big, can be a big part of your program. Meaning it can really hurt you or it can really benefit you. And for us, the ability to kind of continue to build those relationships, because hopefully, to be honest with you, there's not a freshman that came in this year that I would believe should be in a position to help us. Now, maybe they can, and maybe we'll, as we start camp, we'll find some surprises, and based on injuries and different things like that. But we're in a really good place that, hey, we had a chance to take those young guys and really let them learn and develop from a lot of older guys, which we love as coaches. Kids don't love; they get very impatient. But it's just a reminder to us that, hey, it's all about relationships and your ability to make sure you're honest with them, make sure you show them the future, show them what your plan is, and continue to keep them involved in what you're doing. And along with success can at least help those opportunities. But it's ever changing, and it's something that we've got to be aware of because, like you said, the not saying just a higher caliber kid, but the kid with that ambition doesn't want to wait at times. So there's a good balance between, wanting that guy that doesn't want to wait and having that guy that believes in what it is that you're doing and where they're going.
We'll go next to Chad Brendel from Bearcat Journal, please.
Coach, you had a pretty quiet leadership group last year, guys like Derek Forrest and Jared Dokes that, were very workmanlike. How different is this year with guys that are a little bit more fun, a little bit more outgoing, like Myjai Sanders and Ahmad Gardner?
Well, it might be a little more fun for guys like you that have an opportunity to put a microphone in front of them and get some better content, maybe. Where it was always nice when, if you're going to talk to Derek Forrest or Jared Dokes, they were probably going to say the same message that they had just heard on a consistent basis. So it all brings different things. There's a lot of great things about it. I think that it can continue to, excite our fan base, excite our students, the people of our community, because you're right. The Myjai Sanders with the microphone in front of him, or even Kobe Bryant and Desmond Ridder, sometimes do provide a little bit more for the outside. But I think that's all a progression in knowing what kind of team you have year in and year out. And as we get rolling here starting tomorrow, all those things really start to show their head, and you figure out, hey, how is this team going to kind of morph with its leadership and what it has to do? We know how to play the game of football, and they've had a lot of success that way, but there's so many other things that get involved with development of team throughout an entire season in training camp that have a lot to do with things like that, with guys' personalities and attitudes about what it is we're all doing.
And we'll go next to Jason Stamm of BearcatReport.com, please.
Hey, Coach, I just want to ask you about, I think the guys in the studio mentioned your schedule earlier, and you have that opportunity to have, teams like Indiana, Notre Dame. What does that do for you, knowing that you have the opportunity to, have those resume builders, come the end of the season?
Well, I mean, it's exciting. I'm not going to lie to you. We try to be that cliche to say, don't worry about those things. It's one game at a time. But I think the unique thing as we go into camp that our kind of our objectives and goals don't change. Yes, the schedule changes. Yes, there's some different opportunities. But we'll go into with the same idea and the same philosophies we had in year one. Hey, our objective is to play for championships. Does that mean, hey, you want to be undefeated? Hey, you're talking about, no, it just means that at the end of the year, our objective is to be able to play for a championship. That means we got to win the last 3 games. We got whatever we got to do. We got to put ourselves in position to play for championships. If we do that and we have that run, then it's amazing what other things can happen. But it's a little bit more difficult, I would say, this year with, just the success we've had the last 2, the schedule we've got with, lot of people don't realize the proximity to where we are, where a lot of our kids have grown up to, what even those out of conference games, I'm not saying they mean more than playing UCLA or we're going to play Nebraska. Just sometimes the proximity to where they are, there's a little bit more draw and attention put to it with our kids. And, sometimes I worry about things like that and our ability to stay focused with the task and making sure we understand it's about a process and don't focus on one or two in particular games.
Go to the next one from Billy Embody with 24/7 Sports, please.
Hi, Luke. As you guys make the transition to Coach Tressel as DC, I was wondering if there was, any philosophical changes that you guys kind of underwent, or it was a time where you could reevaluate what you guys wanted to focus on defensively, or is it almost a situation where you don't want to change things up too much with how much success you guys have had?
No, I think change is always good. And I think that's where, it's been a really good transition for all of us, for me, and I think for our guys too. Have we been pretty successful and really grown? I mean, if you really look at us from year 1 through year 4, each and every year, you've seen a lot of transitions in what we've done and how we've done it defensively. And I don't think it's going to be any different this year. It's just, it was a little bit easier to make some transitions maybe going into this year because we had a different mind, a guy that came from a little bit more of a different system and had some different experiences as in the past where whether it was Coach Freeman and Coach Hitch and Coach May, a lot of us have been together for a long time, so a lot of our ideas and things were coming from the same place. So it's actually been really good for us to have a little bit of a different mind, a different eye, coming from some different places to help us continue to evolve what we're doing.
Okay, next we'll go to Trace Chilco with Sons of UCF, please.
Coach, as training camp gets underway, what's your team's vaccination rate, and what's your opinion of the league's position that games impacted by COVID will not be rescheduled and you face a forfeit?
I think the biggest thing is every program's kind of, on their own. I couldn't tell you what the rate is. You'd have to talk to our doctors. I know that it can be an advantage in a lot of different ways, and I think that's the difficult thing. I think last year was a little bit easier. Everybody was on a kind of a level playing field, meaning we all were going through the same things. Now there's a greater discrepancy based on whether a guy's vaccinated, whether he's not vaccinated, whether there's there's testing, whether everybody's different protocol. I mean, it's still things that are distractions to all of us. I said I'm not worried about it. We're going away to camp. When we come back, when school starts, it'll kind of be something that we have to kind of jump back into, but not going to let it be something that's going to really distract us. Not going to worry about, oh goodness sakes, what's going to happen if we get a game canceled? Now we forfeit. Now we're out of a league. Like those are all things that, if I'm sitting here worried about those things, no matter what, we're not going to be prepared to play all the games we have to play anyway. So I'm in a good fortune that we got great doctors and a great medical staff that I kind of let them all handle those things, and I can kind of stay locked in and focus on the football side of things.
We'll take it back to Chad Brindell with Bearcat Journal, please.
Coach, you guys head for Camp Higher Ground tomorrow. Year 5. First, are you now at a point where you're excited to get out to Camp Higher Ground every year? And 2, what advantages do you think you guys get by being able to have a facility like that where you can get away for a couple weeks?
To say I'm excited is an understatement. And for a lot of different reasons, not that I want to be away from my family, don't get me wrong, but just I think just the way that everything has gone this offseason, there's still the COVID different things, and all things are still evolving, and to some different attention to the program based on where you were last year, how you ended, to get to Higher Ground tomorrow, we aren't going out till later in the day. I might go out there early in the morning and just stay, because there's no better place to kind of lock in, focus, not worry about a whole lot of other things. And I think that's the uniqueness that we have for our program is once we go out there, it's a pretty unique setting that, I'm not saying it's the greatest. I'm not saying if you went into our locker room and asked the guys that they're really excited about spending 2.5, 3 weeks at Camp Higher Ground in West Harrison, Indiana. But I think when they come back, what they realize is the ability to focus there, the ability to kind of have an attention to detail and really spend a lot of time just kind of immersed in football. And learning the game and not just playing the game, but even learning and knowing your teammates a lot better, because there's not a whole lot of other things to do. So it's unique, and I think it's been one of the many, but I would say it's in the top 2 or 3 things that we've done since I've come here. I said we haven't done it. It was here before I got here, but something that we've continued to do and I think enhanced our times out there has been one of the top 2 things of really getting our program to where we are today.
Coach Fickell, thank you so much for joining us. We're looking forward to seeing you guys start the season here shortly.
Well, we're excited.
Awesome. Well, Rini, Camp Higher Ground is such an interesting concept because it's very NFL-like. And for you who played a couple seasons in the NFL, what does a team gain by being able to take a preseason fall camp to a location? You're staying in bunks. You have no outside other influence other than just football.
I love it, and you're right. It's very akin to what happens in the NFL. And so you're just away. There's no distractions. You're not worried about significant others. You're just there and you're concentrating on football. And really the big thing, I think, is the bonding that you really get with your teammates, and you really become one. And there's nothing like a football locker room. And when you go away like that for training camp, you bond even more closely. So I love it.
One other thing that Coach Fickell did over the offseason, he built a barn at his house, which has been a great thing for recruiting because they have a basketball court there and you get to go. So Coach Fickell's done a lot, and he's added a lot of competition to his schedule. His answer about playing Indiana and Notre Dame and how excited he is for them. Because really, when you do that, it's in your own hands. What did you think about what he said?
No, I thought it was a good answer, and he knows you've got to play those tough teams. And so, I'm very impressed with Luke Fickell. I've called games there from when he first got there. And Chris, you always hear when coaches get there, they always say, I need to change the culture. Well, going into his 5th year here at Cincinnati, he has changed the culture at Cincinnati to exactly how he wants it, and they're really just humming along. And so they're going to be a really tough team to knock off in this conference this year.
I know culture gets thrown around a lot, but you do sense something, kind of a blue collar kind of an attitude when you cover the Cincinnati team. They lose Marcus Freeman, who was a really good friend of Coach Fickell. Where do you see in that transition?
Well, I liked his answer there because you bring in Mike Tressel, and what did Luke Fickell say? Change is good, because Marcus Freeman and Luke Fickell were really close, as you said. So, the defensive schemes, the philosophies, very much on the same mindset. So you bring in Mike Tressel, you tweak some things, it reinvigorates people, right? Even Luke Fickell, the player. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I love also the answer about NIL when you have Desmond Ridder, and we're going to see Ahmad Gardner. We learned yesterday, changed his number to A1 because his nickname is Sauce, so he could be A1 Sauce. And in a town like Cincinnati, those guys can really make a difference off their name.
And Desmond Ridder, I remember when he was a freshman, I remember doing a game there going to a children's hospital with Desmond Ridder, a great individual, great human being. So much leadership coming back for them. So they're going to be a fun team to watch.
Well, let's now join the players that are joining us. Quarterback Desmond Ridder and cornerback Ahmad Gardner. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll now take some media questions for you.
And we'll get the question started with Dan Tortora with Wake Up Call DT, please. Dan, go ahead.
Gentlemen, just what you can say about your decision to come back, coming off of that Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and how it ended, just why come back and represent Cincinnati one more time?
Yeah, no, I think, for me coming back, it was more so to leave a legacy here at the University of Cincinnati. I've been here 4 years, playing 3 years, and I just knew that coming back for that last year, I could reach all my goals that I wanted to of all the records here at UC and really, leave my name up on the Ring of Honor and be one of the UC greats. So that was the main reason why I wanted to come back.
For me, I ain't had no choice for real. So I came back to, be a leader, be more of a vocal leader, and I feel like this is going to be the year where we can really go far. This is the season that everybody is really looking forward to. So I'm looking forward to it also.
And then as far as your thoughts on name, image, and likeness, that we see Sauce right there on your chest there. Just what you can say about name, image, and likeness and what you both are taking from it. And Ahmad, I know that you've obviously started that ball rolling.
Yeah, I feel like me and the guys, we're really utilizing it, I've been having a lot of deals a lot of opportunities just because my name is Sauce, So, I mean, I'm a fan of it. You know, I like it. I feel like we should have had this opportunity, but, you know, now is the perfect time.
And I think you know a lot of the guys on the team, you know, they're like me and Sauce are one of the more high valued guys on the team. But you know, there's a lot of other guys on the team that are doing deals. Cam Jones, some of the offensive linemen, defensive linemen. But you know, I think we're doing a great job of making sure that it's not a distraction and that we're keeping our main focus on football and making sure that that's the number one task at hand.
Thanks, guys.
We'll take our next question, please, from Justin Williams from The Athletic.
Des, there's been a lot of talk about the expanded college football playoff and realignment and how all that stuff might impact Cincinnati. For you, knowing this is your last season, what do you think about all that stuff since it won't necessarily impact this year?
Yeah, no, I think it's great for the program, and that's one thing that Coach Fickel's always said since we've been here is leave the place better than you found it. And you know, if that's moving to a new and bigger, better conference, or more teams coming into our conference to make our conference just that much better, you know, that we've done our part here in our 4 or 5 years that we've been here to just really boost the program to put it on a bigger national stage.
We'll take the next one from Chad Brendel, please, with Bearcat Journal.
Sauce, you've done a lot to change your body this offseason. Take me through, you know, how difficult that's been and what you've gone through with Coach Brady and the strength staff to get yourself up over 200 pounds.
It wasn't really difficult, really. I just had to put my mind to it. They was just telling me that anything is possible because I always been the smallest kid on the team, you know, the lankiest, skinniest dude, but they invested into me. They had my best interest, you know. And they just, day in and day out, they had me working with people that was 10 times stronger than me, you know. And that's been helping me get bigger, faster, stronger. I really appreciate those guys for that.
And Des, how is there's a lot of talk about before the baby got here, what fatherhood was going to be like. How has fatherhood kind of maybe changed your perspective as you go into your senior season?
It's been great going so far, going on almost 4 months now. But yeah, it's just made me going that much harder. You know, not saying I didn't have anything to work for before, but now I definitely have something to work for, to provide. And so, you know, that's obviously the main goal, but, you know, it just makes me want to go out there on the field, work that much harder with my brothers, and just have everyone succeed. Because, you know, team success is going to lead to individual success. And, you know, I think that playing hard on the team is just going to get it done.
We'll take the next question from Jason Stamm from Bearcat Report, please.
Hey, Desmond, just wanted to ask you, you know, you've been through a few, the camp higher grounds now you guys are starting tomorrow. I guess, tell me a little bit about what does that do for you guys as players, having that experience, and then, you know, this is your last one. What is it like, you know, specifically this year going into this camp higher ground?
Yeah, I would definitely say, you know, coming in as a freshman, you hear about Camp High Ground. It's a camp in West Harrison, Indiana. It's in the middle of the woods, so it's very secluded. It's about football year round, or football 24/7 when we're there, about 16 to 20 days. But, you know, as a freshman, you come in, you hear all the stories of it, and you kind of dread it. And now as a senior, you know, it's kind of cliche to say, but you don't want to go out there and count the days, but really make the days count. So now going into my fifth and final camp, you know, I think it's going to be exciting for me to go out there to get better every day, to grow as a team and just to compete. Because that's, you know, the number one thing that I like to do and that everyone on the team loves to do. And that's really a place where you can go and do that. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, fights and stuff that happen on the field. But I think you see a lot of the brotherhood and a lot of the culture grow out there as well for the team, because, you know, what happens on the field stays on the field. And then, you know, as soon as we take those pads off, everyone becomes brothers again. And I think that it's a great place to just be out there and be as a team for a couple weeks.
Okay, next we'll go to Trace Trilco with Sons of UCF, please, in Orlando.
Desmond, you're coming off a season in which the team is conference champions. You have more road games this season. You're trading Austin Peay and Army for road games at Indiana and Notre Dame, and the preseason expectations now as conference champions. How do you respond to the increased pressure that comes with those heightened expectations?
We just put our head down and keep working. As for the time that I've been here, we've kind of been the underdogs, and now we're kind of looked at as, the top dogs. But, we know that we have that target on our back, and it's really just pushing us that much harder to just be the best, because we know that every time we step on the field and play an opposing team, that they're going to bring their hardest every single play, no matter who we're playing. So just coming out every game, knowing that we got to play our hardest, and that'll get the job done.
We'll go back to Justin Williams from The Athletic, please.
Sauce, you've kind of become a known quantity at cornerback. How do you expect teams will treat you this year? Do you think they'll try and kind of go after you and target you, or do you think they'll try and stay away and throw away from you?
I feel like the competitive team's going to go at me. I'm looking forward to it, but I know it's going to be some teams that want to stay away from me. But whether the ball is coming my way or not, I'm going to give it 110% every snap. My job is to really make every receiver better that goes against me. No matter what conference it is, they're going to know who I am for the rest of their life. That's what my job is.
Okay, we can take the final question from Chad Brendel with Bearcat Journal, please.
Des, how much better do you get every day in practice having to go against what's a top 10, maybe, one of the top defenses in the country? And Sauce, how determined are you every day to make sure that Des has a bad day at practice?
No, yeah, I would definitely say it's tough. You're going to have your good days, and then you're going to have your bad days. But I think, it really helps our guys up front going against, one of the top defensive line in the country. It just makes them that much better to when we come into the season. I think, it's still tough, but they have that edge knowing that they go against the top guys every single day. And then, as for me and throwing the ball, it gets tough out there with guys like Sauce because he's so lanky. You think that, you have a good pass or you put it in a good window, and his lanky arms just get there just an inch or two quicker than the ball does. And it really makes you mad. But it just makes you better at the end of the day. And I think, the experience of just working day in and day out with these guys will really pay off in the long run. That's for me.
Desmond, Ahmad, thank you guys so much for joining us. We're looking forward to watching you play this season.
No
problem. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Rini, you got to love the swagger, the confidence from Sauce there. You're going to know his name. You go up against him. They'll throw the ball his way.
Name, image, and likeness, right? He's got the Sauce out of. I got a feeling we're going to see that a few more times this season. And yeah, as a corner, you want that swagger. You want that confidence, that cockiness, and he brings it, and he's a good one.
I love it. So coming up next, we're going to switch gears over to Houston. Dana Holgorsen will be joining us next. A lot of hype and anticipation around his team. We'll join Coach right after this.
Don't feed her, I just